What's up, guys? Welcome back. I finally got the harness kind of laid out in the car, and I've kind of got the circuits more or less going where they need to go. The fuse box won't be here till tomorrow. So you've got your mass airflow sensor harness. This is what goes to the C110 inline. And then these are power circuits, grounds, or like throttle pedal, CAN bus, stuff like that. So real quick, just a little disclaimer. This isn't meant as like a proper way to wire a car. It's mainly just meant to give you guys like an in-depth look on what pins go where. And so I was gonna be super detailed and more or less point out at what goes where, this one to that one, A to B. And I plan on doing some wiring diagrams that should be easier to follow as well. I know it's already been brought up, so again, like I said, disclaimer. Some people don't like when you make a connection that's either soldered or crimped, something like that. So my background is I did about 5 years in industrial automation, and I was a millwright. The electrician I worked with had an electrical engineering degree. So I spent 5 years pretty hands-on with PLCs, which is kind of why coming into I've always been into cards, but I wasn't this deep until after, learning a lot about like microcontroller stuff like that. So at the end of the day, it's pretty much acknowledged that a properly done splice, whether it's solder, or a crimp splice, etc., is just as good as solid wire. So I get like repinning the whole harness and all that. Yeah, that's cool, but a lot of people may just have pulled an engine, a computer, and a harness out of a junkyard, and they don't have any of the factory modules. Well, this PCM connector and like the math connector, stuff like that, man, for under 50 bucks, you can have all the connectors you need. So this is just more or less to give you like an in-depth look of how you could go to a junkyard, pull the engine, the harness, computer, and that's all you need. You don't have to buy the Ford control pack, anything like that. You can wire it yourself. And if you want to recrimp and do all new wire, like, that's fine. I'm sure on my 70, I'm going to do something like that. But this more or less is to get the pin outs out there, get the information out there. And it was just quicker for me to do it this way. I don't even have a crimping set, so I'd have to order all that. And I just don't feel like waiting. At the end of the day, yeah, adding a joint can affect the resistance, stuff like that. But in my experience, even like I said, dealing with industrial controllers and stuff, it doesn't, to the point of where it interferes. So everything in this, it'll be fine. I'm sure this car will be in a junkyard long before my solder joints give up. So anyway, without any more, we'll get to it. Okay guys, I'm pretty much to the point where I've kind of got my C110 trans harness connector in line, kind of off to itself here. This goes to the C146 inline in the engine harness. Here's my mass airflow sensor harness, and here's like pedal inputs, outputs. A couple of these may actually come back to here, but for the most part, a lot of these are circuits that'll be mounted to the fuse box, which I think I'm going to put inside the car. So I'm going to wire as much as I can today, and the fuse box should be here tomorrow. So I had to pick somewhere to start, and the C110 is what I chose, coming from the number 1 pin here, which is like the starter signal wire. I have it pulled up on my tablet over here. So again, that's like a circuit that I don't have a fuse box for at the moment. So I think the first usable pin that I can actually work with today is, let me see. Yeah, pin number 4, which goes to pin 53 on the C175B, and it's the GenCom connector. guys? It's Tuesday after Father's Day. Took a little bit of a break. Did some fishing. If I'm not in the shop, generally I'm fishing for striped bass. So there's some decent spots around me in Alabama, and I went to a new spot this weekend. It was my first time there. I was about 3/4 mile back in the woods, and a second cast caught a 30-pound, 40-inch stripe. So anyway, I'm finally back working on the car today, and like this is about where I'm at. So I've got the fuse box mounted over there, and I may move it. I don't know. Everything's just kind of, I just kind of wanted to make sure I had room for everything. So I got the switch panel wired in here. That kind of activates the PCM relay, and then that squealing is, I don't have any spark plugs in it, but I have the coil packs bolted down and the covers, so it's just the compression kind of rolling by. I didn't run a wire to the clutch, and honestly I don't think I'm going to. I'd rather it just turn on that way. So pretty much all the relays are wired in aside from the outputs to say when I get the fans in, and I just need to wire the fuel pump relay, which I'm waiting on a guy. He's supposed to get back with me this week, local, with a brand new fuel cell. I'm just going to pick that up from him. Okay, so I've pretty much got the DLC connector and the cluster done. The cluster still needs the oil pressure hooked up, and possibly if I can figure out how to use an aftermarket fuel sending unit wired to it, either or. At the end of the day though, I believe most of the gauges will work. I don't believe I'm going to put any steering wheel buttons on the car because I did delete the medium speed CAN bus anyways. So there's really no need to put those on there. I'm pretty sure that's how they communicate. I hadn't really looked into it, but I don't need them for anything. I just want wheel speed, RPM, you know, oil pressure, stuff like that would be nice. But anyway, this is it. And it's just wired to the switch panel. Now I don't have any spark plugs in the engine, so but the holes are covered with a coil pack cover, so you'll hear a little bit of a, but yeah, there's ACC on, and then if you could tell there, but it did already have an RPM reading, so which that comes from the crank sensor, so no big deal. So that does tell me that the independent gauges that you have signaled from, more or less, on the bus is working. So again, all the other gauges that I intend to work should. I think I'm gonna be done here for today. I still have to, like I said, wire a fuel pump relay, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and do a fuel cell setup first, and then worry about the wiring back to the pump. Also, I haven't wired in, I've wired in the trigger, because it's ground triggered, to the relay box for the high and low speed fans. However, I think since those are 5-pin relays and they're meant to be, they need to be wired a little different. And of course, I'll kind of update you guys on which direction to go with that. And for now, I'll be done and talk to you soon. What's up, guys? So I finally got the billet adapters I've been waiting on. And here it is. 7075 aluminum. They're machined to fit one of these offset spacers. It'll come with a couple different ones, but each can be flipped back and forth to give you a different tie rod pickup point, which will all in all adjust your Ackerman. So you can swap it from here to there, and that's 2 settings in one. More or less, this will just bolt right onto the factory S550 knuckle, and I got one installed on the other side. So here it is, the bolt, this is just a bolt I already had. Same with this, and it kind of bolts in place. This is on the same plane as your OEM tie rod pickup point. There is some bump steer correction built in here as well, which at the end of the day, the height of the car, the height of the tie rod, all that kind of comes into play, the caster, the roll center. So when it comes to something like that, it's going to be kind of unique to your setup, but the adjustment's there. So all right, anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get this adapter installed on this side and then finish up the wiring, and I'll kind of update you guys on that. And I think the actual swap video will be a separate video, but I'll kind of update you guys on where I'm at with that as well. Okay, so really all there is to installing it is going on that one first. Of course, you know, I just have some mock-up stuff here. So like for now, I'll just use a washer, you know. Then I've drilled the hole in the OEM knuckle here to 5/8. And of course the bolt needs to be shorter than this. This is just one I have. Again, bolts should be shorter, but for now, for the sake of getting it installed, we'll use that one. Then, and of course, I actually have a s197 subframe in here with s197 rack, so I gotta get some different outer tie rod ends because I don't have a set of Heim with a sleeve for these. But more or less, that, you know, then your tie rod pickup will go here, and it's relocated, and then you can use different inserts here to adjust the Ackerman. The caster can be adjusted through this front arm, the track width, camber, etc. can be adjusted through the lower arm. And then these are just BC coilovers with the stock body, so there's a little bit of a KPI adjustment in here, which running these longer arms like this, I've got this actually cambered in. So yeah, so that's on. Can't really do any more till I order some more parts to finish the steering setup here. And of course these arms are not final. These were just something I was playing with. These aren't even the right bends or links. And everything will get new Heims because these Heims have been used to mock up so much that that's really all I use them for at this point. So yeah. What's up, guys? So still waiting on some stuff for wiring. I talked to a guy locally about a fuel cell, so I'm kind of waiting to hear back from him. Today is work on getting the front end kind of lined up here, and I'm using about a year ago at Pull Apart I grabbed just a factory stock core support, and I was going to use it, but I think what I'm going to do is just use it to kind of line everything up, and which I've already kind of done. But I'm going to use just some scrap steel I had laying around to make some headlight brackets to hold my headlights in place. And then they'll be hard, you know, pretty much hard mounted. And I'm gonna come back and bend some tube to make this shape and add some plates to bolt my hood latch to. Then of course the top of the headlight. It's be like a fully tube. I'm gonna use 1.25 by 120 wall. And then I believe I'm gonna have to come back and cut this out, because originally I kind of, you know, tube the frame rails in preparation to do a radiator and all that in the back. But now I don't, this car's kind of went, you know, up and down, left, right. So the radiator is going to go in the front just for simplicity. I'm going to put a fuel cell in the rear. So I believe I'm going to cut this out and then 45 it out. And that'll give me room to use the stock radiator, bottom radiator mounts anyway off the S550 subframe. And then I can make mounts for the top. That won't be that big a deal. So yeah, today I'm going to work on trying to get that done. It actually looks pretty decent sitting up there. Starting to look like a car. Gets me excited. So this will be kind of one of the last big fabrication steps, aside from getting the back closed in, whatever I got to do there, mainly from the cabin. I'm not as concerned with, you know, the rear. It really just needs a bash bar and the bumper hung, and most of it should be fine. So without any more, let's get on it. Alright, so far I've got the headlights more or less located. So just with some temporary like brackets for now. I lined, you know, the hood, the fenders, everything up best I could, and kind of made one of them on the car and then just copied the other one, the measurements, and everything lines up pretty well. So now I'm kind of trying to figure out what to do next, because again, I do got to modify this front frame section a little bit. And I'm wanting to run, I just had those kind of in the shop, so I figured I might just stick them in the car, just the tubs for the front. So what I'm trying to figure out now is going to be the best way to do that. So it looks like I need them to come to about here, but then of course I have the headlight, so it's going to be close. I just need to take a couple measurements, and I was going to do a down tube from here into the frame section. But where I need that to land, I don't really have room unless I extend this frame out some. So I still got to figure that out, and that's kind of just where I've gotten to so far. And I'll keep updating you guys as I make my mind up. All right, I think I've decided to do the tubs first, and then worry about where my tubes fall. And I've already got an idea of where they're going to fall. at least the main tubes. So this is just like a cheater piece I had laying around, and it's gonna come off here 90. And I mean, like I said, this one's already closed, so 90 right above the headlight, and then it's gonna 90 down into the frame rail there, kind of like, here we go, yeah, kind of like this. I'll flip, and then it'll attach here. But first, I want to get the tub set in there, and then worry. So for the outer tubes, I believe I'm gonna do the 1.75 by, I think this is 120 wall, and then the smaller tubes I'll use the 1.25, and we'll go from there. I'm getting ready to start welding on the tub. And the reason I even have this tub is a good friend of mine, David Hamby, also known as Drift Wolf on YouTube or Instagram. Y'all can check him out. He's big into drifting, RB stuff, SR20 stuff, Nissan stuff. Now he's into Jay-Z stuff. So he gave me a few years ago, and I've just had them laying around. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and use them because he's already kind of added the filler there, and I just need to finish welding them up. So that's what I'm gonna do, and we'll get on it. All right, what's up, guys? So originally, I was gonna use some of the tubs that were already had the inserts welded in them, and here that I was cutting to fit, etc. After, you know, playing with that for a little bit and videoing a lot, I kind of swapped gears to just see, you know, about fitting this one up, and so I didn't really video it, but I think this is the route I'm gonna go. It's the fit up was a lot easier in terms of like what needs to go where, and without having to worry about this inner piece for clearance. And then of course I can always make a template. So I think for now I'm gonna actually tack weld this in and then come back and make a template for the insert. So we'll get both of these sides done, and then we'll focus on bending some tube, you know, to kind of get the top headlight support there, as well as getting the core support in here. So let's get on it. Alright, so I messed up. After I took the headlight off, I more or less forgot about it, I guess. So I'd come in here and it's Saturday and I can't buy any tubing, so I was just trying to use what I had around. So I was limited on how many bends I could make, and I was just going to try to do this the simplest as possible with the tubing I had, and then I was going to, you know, add a core support. Well, anyway, this is in the way of the headlight, obviously. So I do about the only thing I can do, and it's just take another 90, come up off the frame rail, and tee it into there. Not ideal, but it's Saturday. I'm not waiting until Monday to buy more tubing. The whole goal of this car was really to put it together with stuff I had laying around anyways. Almost everything on this car is stuff I already had. So, you know, still be plenty strong. Where it's going to tie in is going to be under the fender anyways, so it's not going to take away from the aesthetics of the base. So I'm going to use this little tool here to basically come in there, find the angle, and of course that'll give me my notch, what I need on the tube. So that's what I'm going to do now, and talk to you guys later. Okay, so I've kind of got the driver's side pretty much not done, but all kind of mocked in, tacked in, whatever you'd call it. Only thing left to do will be to sheet metal this in, and I believe I'm going to come in on either the inside or the outside of the tube and close this in. Could even do something like that, you know, straight or go down. I hadn't quite decided. I believe I'm going to add my lower headlight mounting brackets to this piece of angle, and then of course I'll do a top one. And tomorrow I'm going to do that side, and it should go a lot faster just because like I said, I was using what I had with a tube and kind of figuring out what could work with what I had laying around. And again, I have another piece of 1.75 I've already bent a couple times, so I'm just going to go that route. Where it joins is under the fender anyways. So as far as strength goes, that's super strong. Most drag cars that tube front on these cars, they're cut off in the back and nothing but tubing, you know, down here. They really don't even worry about this. So as far as structure goes, all that's still in the car. This is 1.75 by 120 wall tubing, and welded joints are, especially TIG welder, just super strong. So that'll be fine other than how it looks being teed together. But I'm going to close the pipe up, or the tube, not the pipe, but it's not pipe. I am going to close the end of it up and of course sheet metal it in and then paint it all, so it'll look, you know, pretty good. And I think I'm gonna take a break for now. What's up, guys? It's Tuesday after Father's Day. Took a little bit of a break. Did some fishing. If I'm not in the shop, generally I'm fishing for striped bass. So there's some decent spots around me in Alabama, and I went to a new spot this weekend. It was my first time there. I was about 3/4 mile back in the woods, and a second cast caught a 30-pound, 40-inch stripe. So anyway, I'm finally back working on the car today. and like this is about where I'm. So, one of the last things I was doing was working on this tube front. So I figured I'd go ahead and wire pretty much all I needed, and then I could pull the harness out and pull the engine out to finish up the engine bay, and that might be the easiest. So, and then of course it'll just, the other side will be the same as this, and then it'll have, I was going to do a removable piece that more or less kind of use swing outs like you'd use on a roll cage, and I still might if I can have room to still pull the engine, which for me, I pull the engine from the bottom anyway, so it's not a huge deal to even have this removable. But anyway, from here, you know, to here will be the rest of the core support, and that's kind of where I'll make the radiator mount. So let's get on it. So fit up was super nice on here, over and under. I went ahead and welded most of that. I got to come back and do the back, but I am going to pull the engine and stuff back out of the car. So, and then it's on the same plane and all as the other side. Overall, looks pretty good. Everything looks symmetrical, which I did use, level gauge, stuff like that. Then of course my eyes. At the end of the day, that's what me personally. I'm not formally trained in this. Actually, this is my first time ever doing a tube front. I've done a roll cage, which it was pre-bent, so notching stuff like that's easy. The main thing, as far as in my opinion, getting weld quality to look good is just the level of your fit up. Sometimes with TIG, welding on some of this dirty metal, it does kind of pop. Every now and then you'll have like a little ugly spot or maybe get like a little hole in it. And a lot of times I'll try to go back and, fill that up. But every now and then it just kind of is what it is. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this so far. Like I said, I'm going to eventually pull everything back out and kind of finish up and then paint everything. I think it'll look really, really good. So as far as what's left, I wanted to do kind of like a quick release thing, but if I do any type of little nubs here to do a quick release, it's going to block the engine. So at this moment, I really don't know if I'm going to make it quick release. So I think what I need to do next is cut this piece out, set the radiator in there, and make upper mounts. And that should give me a pretty good idea of where my bar needs to land. And because the top bar will basically hold the mount for the hood and then the radiator top mounts. And then I'm going to do a tab for the headlights on top on this bar. And I know I'd made those other brackets to locate the headlights, and it worked for what I was doing. But now that I've put this piece of angle in here, I believe I'm going to do my lower mounts on that. So everything should be nice and secure in there. Obviously, if you get in a big front end collision, a lot of this is going to be torn up, but hell, so it's the same way on a factory car. So I'll quit blabbering.